Hi fans, please like our video and subscribe to the RotoWire channel. Then please go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Welcome to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, sponsored by BetMGM and Owner's Box. It's Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020. Alex Barutha here with Shannon McEwen and Ken K-Train Kreitz on the line.
Happy holidays!
Yeah, we're recording this podcast on Wednesday instead of Friday, since Friday is Christmas, and unfortunately, we have to spend time with our families instead of talking about basketball and doing the pod for an hour or 2 hours. Speaking of the podcast, you can find it on Spotify, Stitcher, rotowire.com, even on YouTube now. All of our podcasts are in video form, and we would appreciate a nice review on that. Today, after we talk about the opening night in the NBA, we're going to get into early waiver wire targets. We'll obviously learn some more about guys from Wednesday onward, but just for now, I think there are some guys who went underdrafted. I think is probably the best way to put it. But to kick things off, Nets versus Warriors last night was a complete blowout. Brooklyn 125, Golden State 99. I already feel bad for Steph Curry. But as a fantasy,
He's got a lot of rings and a pretty nice Under Armour contract.
Very true. As a fantasy player, though, it's looking very good. If last night if his usage is any indication of what he'll have for the regular season, then he should be a top 3, top 5 fantasy player easy. James Wiseman also looks, he's an insane athlete. Definitely an NBA athlete. And I think there's a good chance he'll end up being the top rookie in fantasy. What do you think, Shannon?
Yeah, obviously getting the starting nod without appearing in a single preseason game is a good sign for anyone who drafted Wiseman. I have him in about 60% of my leagues, so I was extremely happy to see that. I like the way he performed. If you're on Twitter or social media, it's kind of funny because you see some pundits kind of poo-pooing how good of a prospect he is, or if he played well last night. But I thought he looked good. I'm with you, Alex. I thought he looked good. He's got some great athleticism for his size. He's able to step back and take those deep shots as well. So once he gets into the flow of it more, even just reading into the Warriors as a whole, you've got Wiseman, who they haven't played a game with yet. You have some practices, maybe some scrimmages, but you haven't played a game with him yet, and he's your starting center. I'm not that worried about the Warriors yet. I want to see more of them. And if anything, it's just the Nets are legit, and that shouldn't be a surprise when you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your team.
Weber was given a lot of helium to Wiseman last night for being very aggressive with his shot. I thought he was very, very aggressive with his shot, to a point where if I was a teammate, I might be a little upset. 0 assists from Wiseman in 24 minutes. I don't think we're in Eddie Curry territory yet, but he clearly is going to shoot. He's clearly going to get a lot of minutes. It's not much of a bench they have in Golden State. Sure looks like the Warriors could have used a longer offseason to figure out how they're going to get these new parts to work. Wiggins and Oubre together on the floor looks a little messy. But Alex, what'd you like on the Brooklyn side of things beyond the obvious Kyrie and KD doing well?
Well, I like that LeVert in the blowout still played 25 minutes, and he posted 20 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Really seems like he is going to run that second unit. And as far as Wiggins and Oubre, their percentages were awful, but the number of shots were good, right? Wiggins took 16 shots, Oubre took 14. Oubre had 7 boards, 2 blocks, and a steal. But yeah, good news for people who took a flyer on LeVert, even with the new team around him. Ken, how do you feel about Brooklyn overall?
I think they're going to be my evil empire for a few reasons. First of all, you got to be a good team to be hated. They're really, really good. You need an annoying cheer like Penn State has that lion noise they make over and over that sounds like a flushing toilet. Well, they've got that Brooklyn chant. That's pretty darn annoying. Kyrie's so easy to hate. And, with KD's terrible interviews, I'm starting to really hate KD, too. The way he blew off Chuck last night, I wasn't too crazy about that. I'm glad Turner made fun of him for it. So, yeah, I think they're going to be my evil empire. I think they're going to be my most hated team easily this year.
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, obviously this is about the best case scenario for KD and Kyrie. But
yeah, I like LeVert. I like your point though. LeVert coming off the bench, let him lead the second squad. You want catch and shoot guys. Dinwiddie's a better catch and shoot guy than LeVert with Kyrie and KD. Yeah, so sorry, fantasy wise, the Nets bench looks great with LeVert.
No, they're definitely a team that will be annoying. I mean, I'm a Bucks fan. I'm going to hate Brooklyn as much as any other team in the league, right? How good they look. I want to be able to cheer for KD, right? Coming off the Achilles, not super easy because I don't like him going to Golden State, but
right. Yeah, I'm not rooting for KD. Boo-hoo.
Last night, go ahead, Shannon.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, with what I'm interested in with this is one, if you landed LeVert, you're probably pretty happy because you got him at discount in your draft. Even as the sixth man, it was extremely encouraging to see the way he was deployed. I think his usage is going to be high enough, leading that second unit. Dinwiddie, he got 9, 5, and 4 in 20 minutes is a pretty good line. And you can chalk up the 20 minutes and limited playing time to the fact that it was a blowout. And I mean, almost immediately a blowout as well. But with Jarrett Allen and DeAndre Jordan, that's one that I want to see how it plays out. I avoided both in drafts like the plague. I think there's a chance both will have decent 12 team value, just because they're both guys who can approach a double-double, even if they're only playing 22, 23 minutes per game each. Either one can do that. They got 17 and 20 minutes last night. But again, it's tough to gauge and come up with something concrete based off the blowout.
They're a hair more valuable in leagues where you've got daily transactions because they're going to load manage Kyrie and KD somewhat. And so,
sure.
Those are going to be big nights for those two, obviously DFS as well. Guys, do you see anyone on this Golden State bench that has 12 or even 14 team league value?
Oh, boy. It's pretty rough. I mean, Pascal didn't look particularly good last night. And, I just don't think you're going to get steady contributions out of anybody. Everybody on their bench, the only person who took more than 4 shots was Marquise Chris. He took 10. So maybe Marquise Chris, but again, he also only played 12 minutes. And I'd like to think that Kent Bazemore can have kind of a bounce back year, but I've been saying that for 3 years. So I don't really trust anybody on this bench, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough there. I mean, even after Draymond gets back, he's gonna supplant Pascal in the starting lineup. So that moves Pascal more to a backup big man role, which means less minutes for Chris, less minutes for Looney. I am not too optimistic about anyone from their bench unit really having 12 team league value.
I'll predict this on the Warrior side. I predict a Wiseman Green public blow up some point this season. Some point Wiseman's not going to make a pass, and Green's going to be angry about it because and Green a little volatile.
I mean, I think
no fantasy bearing, so my apologies.
The over under on that scenario occurring, it's not just once. I mean, it's 24, or once a game. It's going to happen on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah. Gentlemen, should we head out west? Should we head to La La Land, where the Lakers and Clippers once again faced each other? Seems like they're constantly playing each other. Clippers win somewhat handily, 116-109. Of course, it was ring ceremony night for the Lakers. Is it me, or does the team receiving rings always lose that game?
They got off to a pretty slow start. First quarter would have been good to definitely bet the Sixers, or not the Sixers, the Clippers first quarter spread. But LeBron, maybe the main story, one of the main stories, LeBron played only 28 minutes. That wasn't pure load management. He sprained his ankle late in the game, checked out with 8 minutes to go, down 8, and did not return. But he did post 22, 5, and 5 in those 28 minutes. At the same time, maybe this is a slight load management situation. My guess is he probably could have come back into the game. But first game of the year, he's only had like a 72-game offseason, day offseason, I should say. I'm not.
If anyone's earned a break, LeBron
Right.
James.
Paul George.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Paul George went for 33 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, basically a redemption game for him. Shannon, I would say it's nice to see him play 36 minutes because he was playing like 29 minutes a game last year under Doc Rivers.
Yeah, absolutely great to see that. If Paul George was pretty good discount in drafts this year, assuming he was going to bounce back, first game, good sign that that's going to happen. Nothing to worry about with Kawhi. It's as you'd expected. I mean, some of the interesting stuff for me is Nicholas Batum playing 28 minutes, starting playing 28 minutes. Serge Ibaka, he only played 21 minutes, but he started. That's the couple interesting takeaways for me. I mean, Lou Williams is coming off the bench. That's what he always does. That's fine. But having Batum, if he's locked
leading
in,
him in assists last night.
I mean, it not in like 10 or 12 team leagues necessarily, but if he's playing 28 to 30 minutes per game, he's going to have some relevance in deeper leagues. Ibaka, who again, you got Zubac there. I didn't know how they're going to deploy Ibaka. He's been accustomed to coming off the bench in his various roles in Toronto the past couple of years. So I was worried and hesitant to draft Ibaka, but I'm feeling better, even though it was only 21 minutes in the first game. I'm feeling better about owning him now.
I think they're doing Zubac a nice favor, letting him come off the bench. Poor guy was a little overwhelmed starting for them last year, always facing the number one center. Zubac, at his young age, seems like way better situation, him coming off the bench. And I could see him, as he did last night, playing more minutes than Ibaka.
Now, what about, let me ask you guys this. So Luke Nard, popular late-round target.
That new contract.
So they obviously believe in him. But he came off the bench, played 21 minutes, was hesitant to shoot the ball in the first game. I feel like if you're in a deep enough league to have drafted Luke Kennard, you're probably in a deep enough league to be patient. But like a 12-team league, if I snagged him with one of my last picks, I'm probably out there looking for a replacement. He only played 21 minutes. It's possible he'll eventually make his way into the starting lineup over Nicholas Batum. But right now, I'm probably out there fishing for a better free agent to take that roster spot.
Certainly for the next month, anyway. You have to give him time to learn the team's new offense. I guess Batum's in that same situation. But yeah, odd to see Kennard not get that many minutes and only 6 shots is worrisome.
What about you, Alex? I'm pretty sure you have Kennard on at least a couple of rosters, right?
I have Kennard on no rosters. The only way he was getting on one of my rosters is if he was going to be on Detroit again, and the team was going to be bad again. Because I think he only has fantasy value if he's a lead guy or a second gunner guy on a bad team. Yeah, I don't think he'll be taking like 8 shots a game for this Clippers team. He'll luck his way into 4 assists and 4 rebounds some games, but I'm pretty low on him this year. I think them signing him is more of a long-term, well, eventually we're going to get rid of Lou Williams kind of a thing. So I'm not, for this year, I think you can definitely leave him on the waiver wire.
Yeah. On the Lakers side of things, look at this near triple-double for Dennis Schroeder. I'm sure some of that was James leaving early with a sprained ankle. But 14 points, 12 boards, 8 assists with only 1 turnover. My goodness. I mean, you heard a lot of belly aching about Rondo leaving, but this looks like an upgrade.
Schroeder is definitely better than Rondo. He's obviously not going to get 12 rebounds that often, but the 8 assists to 1 turnover is really great to see. Good to see that he took 15 shots, which is encouraging. Like you said, LeBron left a little early, but If LeBron's going to load manage as much as we think he is, in turn, like he might miss 10 games, 15 games, he might play 28 minutes a game some nights. Schroeder should still be able to cook in LA.
Yes. And if you have a center on the Lakers, after seeing Marc Gasol go for 12 minutes and 5 fouls,
big burrito
as the starting center, thankfully, hopefully you went with Montrezl Harrell instead. He had a big game, 32 minutes, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Obviously he's the center to own with the Lakers. But Schroeder, I'm just so glad we don't have to deal with Alex Caruso in the starting lineup or being like a somewhat relevant DFS option anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Gasol is going to play. I mean, it would shock me if he played 20 minutes a night. I think he'll be in that 15 to 18 range most nights. So I think Harrell will still be good for fantasy. Also, Talen Horton Tucker, who basically lit up the preseason and quickly became everyone's late round flyer, played only 11 minutes and had 9 fantasy points.
Deep bench.
Resulting in a lot of people dropping him in Yahoo leagues I saw when I was doing some research. I thought he might be gunning for some of Caruso's minutes in certain matchups, maybe some Markieff Morris minutes, but right now I think it's going to be tough for him. I think he's a hold if you're in like a 20 team league or a 16 team league and you are able to hold on to him, sure. But in a 12 teamer, I'd probably cut bait pretty soon.
Yeah, 12 and 14 team leagues, I am most likely cutting bait. I don't see the opportunity being there unless we have like a KCP injury of some sort. And even then, they have Wes Matthews. And
they got a great bench. That's going to be just tough to crack minutes.
They have a good bench, yeah. Benches was a weakness last year, definitely better this year. But even if KCP was injured and had a long-term absence, Wes Matthews could be the guy. They might prefer the defense first option to move into the starting lineup. So I'm not a believer in Horton Tucker being able to carve out any kind of fantasy role this year.
I also think Wes Matthews too old to be rocking that hairstyle. I think he needs to go to Jared Dudley's barber. Get that.
Ken, he's like 19 years younger than you.
Well, I'm sure not going to rock that.
I wish you would.
He's 34. That's pretty old
by
NBA. I'm letting it go longer. You can't see it with the festive holiday hat. Alex, tell us about our friends at BetMGM.
I will do that. Sports bettors know that magic happens when you turn a hunch into action and apply the right amount of expertise. That's why BetMGM has teamed up with RotoWire to offer new BetMGM customers a free 6-month RotoWire subscription when they place their first bet. Register on the BetMGM app or website and use the promo code ROTO, that's ROTO, to claim your free subscription. Once you make your first sports wager, you'll receive a season's length of RotoWire's unmatched sports insights. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks by signing up and placing your first bet today. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions.
21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, New Jersey, Nevada, Tennessee, and West Virginia only. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado and Nevada, and 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey and West Virginia. In Tennessee, call or text the Red Line at 800-889-9789. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
So our main topic today, early waiver wire targets, obviously extremely early. We haven't seen the bulk of teams play, but essentially these are guys we thought went underdrafted. Shannon, do you want to start us out?
Yeah. I've been practicing this name, Denny. Oh man, I blew it already. The Wizards rookie. Come on, help me out, Alex. Help me out. Avdia. I can't. My mouth does not want to say that name. All right, Denny Avdia. You've got Rua Hachimura is out for 3 weeks with pink eye. Who knew that was going to sideline Rua for 3 whole weeks, but that's opened up the door. For the Wizards, 3 and 4 positions really. You've got Denny Avdia, you've got Bertans, you've got even Mo Wagner in the deeper leagues. So I'm looking at the Wizards front court and I see some options there with Rua out.
Yeah, they have Avdia will be a good option. He looks pretty NBA ready in the preseason in terms of he's just a smart player, can pass, can shoot, can rebound a little bit. And Troy Brown's also an option there.
Yes.
Also an easier name to pronounce. Personally, I like Wagner a lot.
Avdia's game might fit a little better with this backcourt as well. In that he's a little better passer than Hachimura. And obviously Beal and Westbrook want plenty of the ball. So we'll see. He's Avdia available in 65% of leagues. So there's plenty of places you can grab him.
Yeah, and Avdia, he was already pretty much locked in as a starting 3 for the Wizards. But it's just the fact that now Bertans is gonna Bertans won't see minutes at the 3. With Rua playing the 4, Bertans will be primarily deployed as the 4 now. So it just opens up more overall minutes for guys like Avdia and Troy Brown and Wagner.
Now, you gentlemen both are high on a center out of Detroit who's 85% available in leagues. You want to dive into Mr. Plumley?
Yeah, I'll jump in first. It's criminal that Mason Plumley is available at 85% of Yahoo leagues. Absolutely criminal. This guy is going to play, he's locked into like 28, 30 minutes, possibly more. He's going to be a walking double-double this year. He really refined his passing skills with Denver the past couple seasons, flashing Jokic-type passes at times in his limited minutes off the bench. Like, for real, that's not even an exaggeration. He's a very good passing big man. If he gets 28, 30 minutes, I could easily see him going off for like 9-7 with 3.5 assists. He also gets block shots. I love him.
Do you see them? What kind of minutes do you see them giving Okafor?
Possibly, I would say 18 to 20 would be my guess. But that might be a little bit too generous. We have Okafor projected for how many minutes? I think we're right in that 18 to 20 range. 14. 14,
yeah.
We'll see.
Let's not pretend we all know the minute situation in Detroit right now. That's a major roster in flux.
Yes.
I remember the old days when sometimes Blake Griffin qualified at center? I don't think we're going to see that.
That could happen too. I mean, you have Sekou Doumbouya who might get minutes. It's to be determined how this
somebody needs to rebound.
Yes, someone needs a rebound, and Blake Griffin in recent years hasn't done that. He's not the springy Blake Griffin of his early seasons when he was grabbing 10, 11, 12 boards per game. He averaged last season 4.7 rebounds. It was a respectable 7.5 the year before. He'll probably return to that 7 range now that he's healthy. But yeah, Plumlee's not the greatest rebounding big man, but giving the other roster fit around him, he's going to be asked to rebound more. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull down a career high in that category.
Alex, did you want to add anything about Mr. Plumlee? Mason Plumlee, we should say, not his brother.
Not Marshall Plumlee either. I think, he should be. I think he should be picked up in most 12-teamers and definitely 14-team leagues because, again, we've seen him before. When he can get close to 30 minutes, he will have fantasy relevance. He's just put up those types of numbers.
The only bugaboo, pretty bad free throw shooter. So if that's already an issue for your squad and you don't want to tank it, he's going to hurt that. He's not going to help. I'm going to stay in Detroit, gentlemen, because as mentioned before, I think there's plenty of influx minutes. I was a little surprised to see Delon Wright's available in over half of leagues. He's their starting shooting guard, and he's going to play some point as well. Someone's got to score in this rotation, especially this backcourt. I don't see Killian Hayes being ball dominant. Doesn't Delon Wright, as one of the few adults in the room on this team, seem like he's got a lot of upside?
The upside's there. I think he's in a much better position this year than he was last year. Yeah, last year in Dallas, people were projecting a breakout, which just didn't happen. Luka obviously took that next step last season, and that kind of, threw a wrench into plans for people who are drafting Wright. I do believe we'll see the best production out of Wright, career best production out of him. I don't necessarily believe he's going to go off. At best, I see the levels we saw in Memphis a couple years ago. The last 26 appearances with Memphis, he averaged 31 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.6 steals. But he doesn't hit threes. The shooting percentage isn't great. But 12, 5, and 5, to me, that's like that's his max.
The steals are nice. The steals
are nice. 12, 5, and 5 plays. And 10-team, 12-team leagues, that plays. But that, to me, that's his ceiling. Is that type of value.
Got it. All right, Alex, give us one of your sleepers, sir.
Maxi Kleber. I think
Maximilian.
I understand he has a low ceiling, right? Because we've seen
he's like the poster boy for low ceiling, but
yeah, we've seen Porzingis miss time before, and Kleber steps up. He plays well, and we know Porzingis is going to miss at least a month, maybe close to a month and a half, and I assume he's going to miss time throughout the year, back to backs, stuff like that. So I think, especially if you're in a 14-teamer, grab Kleber. He's a good source of blocks and threes, and even if you're in a 12-team league. Depending on how he qualifies, if he qualifies at both power forward and center, that helps too, multi-position. But I mean, we have him in 8-cat leagues projected as basically right at rank 100, and that's a guy you can just basically keep on your bench and use when you need him.
Game counts high. Yeah, I feel like we've been looking at Kleber and Powell on free agent wires for about 20 years right now.
At least that long.
Shannon, you got a name for us?
Yeah. I want to say first with Kleber, I like him as well. But if you're rostering a top 120 big man already, a guy who's ranked top 120, I don't think moving to Kleber's the answer. But if you have a guy like Marc Gasol, if you draft him because of name recognition, absolutely make that switch. Even a guy like Zubac, now that we know Ibaka's starting, I would rather have Kleber over Zubac the rest of the way. But that swap right there is almost a toss-up. Another guy I like a lot who is getting massively picked up in Yahoo leagues right now is Baisley with OKC. That's Darius Baisley. He's going to be the starting power forward for the Thunder, and even if for some reason he doesn't start, he's going to get tons of minutes. They just don't have.
He qualifies as center in some leagues. He's center on CBS. I was shocked to see that.
Yeah, Yahoo, he's small forward, power forward. ESPN, I believe he's forward center. Same for CBS. So he has some good, interesting position eligibility. If you look at his game log from last season, he blew up a couple times when given expanded run. I mean, he had a 3-game stretch in August even where he had basically averaged like 21 and 9. I like him. I like him a lot. I'm excited to see what he does. He's forgotten about in most drafts.
Because of that New Balance internship? Wasn't he the guy?
I'm not sure. But if you look at a lot of these platforms, we did a salary cap league on ESPN yesterday, and he was basically ranked as like a $0 player. And so far down the rankings, I think it was like 250 or something absurd that he didn't come into play until the end game. Meanwhile, on other platforms, I see him locked in as like a top 80 option. So if you're in a Yahoo or ESPN league where he wasn't ranked appropriately for the pre-draft rankings, there's a good chance he's available on your waiver wire, and you should absolutely snag him. To me, he's a lock to be a top 100 player this year.
Ton of shots and minutes available for the Thunder. He did indeed internship with New Balance when he decided to skip college and skip G League. Alex, where do you stand on Baisley or any of the other Thunder no names?
Well, you're right. Someone has to score for this team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not a selfish player, so I don't really expect him to take 25 shots a game or something, Westbrook-esque. Horford, again, is not a high shot volume guy.
Right.
We don't even know where Trevor Ariza is. Last time I checked, I actually like Trevor Ariza if he's going to play for them. But
if he's going to play, yeah.
Baisley's fine.
You don't see Diallo chucking a bunch of shot attempts?
None of these guys are shooters. I mean, Sam Presti's entire draft strategy has been we'll get long, athletic wings who we know can play defense, right, and then we'll fix their shots later.
Yeah,
but
it's debatable whether they're going to fix them. But yeah.
So I'm probably not as high on Baisley as other people, but he should be rostered. I'll put it that way.
I feel like OKC and Detroit box scores are required reading. That should be the first box score you check every morning because that's where their most volatility is going to be.
Yeah, and
sure.
I'm sure we'll talk about OKC a little bit more when we get to the DFS section. But another guy I want to hit on quick, Shake Milton for the 76ers. The 76ers don't have a great bench. It's relatively thin. It's Milton, it's Thibault, it's Tyrese Maxey, Dwight Howard. So I think Milton's going to play, and he's kind of a good change of pace for the 76ers when they want a smaller guard ball handler, when they can take advantage of those situations. He's a good three-point shooter. I think he'll play a decent amount. I'm not saying 30 minutes, but 26 to 30 maybe. And if Ben Simmons misses any time, obviously Milton is going to take on an insane amount of usage because they really have no other ball handling options.
And got some playoff starts with him when Simmons was out. It seemed like Milton was the de facto Simmons replacement.
Who else do you have, Ken?
I'm going to stick to the point guards, and this is more short term. But I'm surprised Jeff Teague's still available in 45% of leagues. Haven't heard great news yet on Kemba Walker and his knee. Teague's going to start for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4. Look, is Jeff Teague young, upcoming with a high ceiling? No. But he's going to do his best to fill in short term in that Kemba role. I think the assists are going to be there. And I'm not saying you hold on to him come February, but I like his upside a lot for these 3-4 weeks. And he's awfully darn cheap on DFS as well.
I'm with you on Teague for sure. There's no reason. I was getting him in I think I got him in the 17th round of NFBKC or something like that. Just ridiculous value, I think. Yeah.
Available in 45% of leagues. So almost half of leagues. Go grab Teague for a nice 4-week run.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's washed, but per 36 last season, still was at 15.8, 3.5, 7.6 with 1.1 steals and 1.1 threes. He's not going to play 36 minutes with Kemba out, but if he's getting 30, 32 minutes, this is still a 12-point, 6-7 assist guy who you can easily plug into your lineup for a few weeks.
And frankly, with Brown and Tatum on this squad, he's going to get some open looks.
Shannon, do you have anybody else for us, or should we just rapid fire these last guys that I have and Ken has?
One guy I'm keeping an eye on, not necessarily moving unless I'm in an extremely deep league, but Emmanuel quickly with the Knicks, widely unowned, definitely unowned, and the vast majority of leagues for Yahoo and ESPN. He's a rookie point guard for the Knicks out of Kentucky. Had some good showings in the preseason. I don't feel like the Knicks are completely locked in to Elfrid Payton as their long-term point guard. So if Quickly can carve, I feel like Quickly will have the opportunity to carve out a role. Don't know if it'll happen immediately. But he's worth keeping an eye on, and if you see those minutes start to creep up, I think he'll be a really good value for 12-team leagues as a pickup 4 or 5 weeks into the season.
I'm with you on that. Looked good during the preseason. Definitely a guy they should try to feature. We have yet to see what Tom Thibodeau will do. again, this is a situation with the Knicks where it's like they have too many people at one position. Last season it was power forward. This season it's guard. They have, not only do they have Peyton there, Austin Rivers, Frank Ntilikina. I think they want to try to get something out. Don't forget Dennis Smith Jr. is still on this team.
Still employed.
Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett's best as a 2. It's just it's too much. So I agree with you overall, but you're gonna have to have some, I think, real patience if you pick him up, which is okay this early in the year. You're probably not dealing with that many injuries on your team, so you can afford to be patient.
Just add him to your watch list for now.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, while we're on the Knicks, when does Obi Toppin start for Thibodeau in New York?
It's tough. Like Alex said, Barrett's probably best fit as a 2. So if you have Barrett at 2, Toppin's basically got to prove that he can play the 3. I feel like to carve out a starting role, and I don't know that he has that in him. I don't feel like
he's a big 3.
6'9"
big for 3.
It is a big 3. I think he's got the athleticism to pull it off. I don't think he has the shooting to pull it off. He improved his 3-point shot his final year in college, but he still was only knocking down 1 3-pointer per game on 39% shooting. And a college 3 is a lot different than an NBA 3. So I am hesitant to anoint him capable of starting anytime soon, because I really feel like he needs a Randall injury or the ability to play the 3.
Well, and do you think the Knicks have any chance of moving Randall come the trade deadline? It's a big contract he's sitting on.
Yeah, there's always a chance. We've seen so many garbage contracts and gigantic contracts get moved the last few years that I think there's always a chance.
2 years, about $40 million left on his deal, on Randall's deal. I'm going to throw 2 names out quickly. We don't need to dive into it. Jay Crowder, always available on the waiver wire, standard leagues. I still think he's going to be the starting power forward for your Phoenix Suns, especially if you good option if you need help in 3s and steals. And then we already discussed Rui Hachimura, got that odd pink eye, probably going to get dropped in a ton of leagues, available in 40% now. We don't really know how things are going to shake out in Washington, other than especially in the front court. They got a lot invested in Rui, so I think he's going to get big minutes when he comes back.
Yeah, I'm with you on those. I have Gary Harris and Thomas Satoransky as my last 2 guys. Harris, we've seen him for his career, his best fantasy rank was 39. I don't expect that to happen again, but the Nuggets aren't particularly deep this season. They're a little deeper at guard. They picked up
Morris re-signed.
Monte Morris and the guy they brought from overseas. I think it's Campazzo is his name.
Yes.
But if Gary Harris can stay healthy, he'll definitely be worth, picking up on the waiver wire. And Satoransky last season ranked 103rd per game. I don't really see a reason why he should be much lower than that this year. Maybe closer to 125. Patrick Williams looks pretty solid. Otto Porter's back. But especially a guy, if you're in a 16-team league, you have to have, I think, Satoransky on your roster. And let us know about our friends at Owner's Box before we get into some DFS.
Certainly. Hey, NBA fans, Owner's Box is here to reinvent the way you play fantasy sports this season. Owner's Box is not DFS. They are the first ever weekly fantasy sports platform to combine the best elements of daily and season-long fantasy. Owner's Box is a head-to-head elimination-style format that keeps players engaged through live snake drafts and a new layer of strategy that allows you to become the ultimate fantasy GM. Compete with your opponent over 7 days of fierce competition and get paid out weekly. On Owner's Box, users can brand themselves and engage socially on the platform in multiple different ways. Add friends, create custom leagues, and rank up to level. Users are available to draft a new team every single day and participate in different types of contests to help keep the fantasy experience fresh and fun, so you're never out of the game. To tip off the NBA season, if you sign up for free now, Owner's Box will match your first deposit up to $500. Think you got what it takes to be a weekly fantasy GM? Visit ownersbox.com/RotoWire to claim your bonus and make a name for yourself today.
Big DFS slate. But I had a lineup, and then that is now gone because Shams Charania of The Athletic has reported that several Houston Rockets, including John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and possibly more, are expected to miss tonight's season opener against OKC due to coronavirus contact tracing.
Oh, James.
This
James
is
club trip.
Yes. After James Harden, video surfaced on social media that James Harden may or may not have been at an adult entertainment club receiving
Does James
gifts.
play for the Washington football team?
Well, I think someone gifted him a suitcase, which was pretty funny in my opinion. Not funny that he was out without a mask and basically endangering his teammates and anyone there. But so keep that in mind. So aside from that, main injuries to watch for. Harden's questionable technically still. My guess is he'll be out. I'm not quite sure. Derek White's out. Kevin Love is out. Capella is doubtful. TJ Warren is questionable but expected to play. Hachimura out for 3 weeks. We touched on that earlier. Norman Powell still questionable. Kevin Porter Jr. out. DJ Augustine was doubtful, is now out. Thad Young out. And the over-unders that are 230 or higher on the slate, Washington at Philadelphia is 230. Atlanta at Chicago is 232. San Antonio at Memphis, 231.5. Dallas at Phoenix, 234. I guess to kick things off first, if Wall's out, if Cousins is out, if James Harden is out, it is the Christian Wood show against Oklahoma
Inserting
City.
him now.
He's a 70-point fantasy game waiting to happen for Christian Wood.
Yes. Wood was already like the first or second player I plugged into my lineup. 6,400 on FanDuel. I was very surprised by that price for him. I think he is going to be, even if all of those guys were active, I would be happy to play Christian Wood at 6,400. He's 6,300 on DraftKings. I'm all over that price. We'll have to see, but I'm not sure who else would you go for.
You may bring the ball up.
Eric Gordon, right?
Eric Gordon, yeah, that would be another good one. So that would be. I mean, those two would both be extremely good plays. And Gordon, my guess is extremely cheap. I'll 45. Verify that. Yeah, 5,000 on DraftKings, not great. 4,500
on FanDuel.
Yeah, that can work. That can work.
Yeah, also important to keep in mind the other side of that matchup with OKC. Obviously, they're not a good team, but if Houston loses all three of those guys that we talked about, they are suddenly not a good team, and that game could quickly get out of hand from a scoring perspective. So Baisley's worth considering at 4,800. SGA is 8,000. I think that's a fair price for him, but pretty solid overall. Ken, who do you got your eyes on for this slate?
Well, I like Nerlens Noel at a super cheap 3,900. Robinson expected to play, but come off the bench. A bit of a game time issue. So I'm always looking for what's my super bargain rate so I can play stars elsewhere. And I got a part of me that thinks Michael Porter. Sorry, that price was on FanDuel. I got a feeling Michael Porter may never be 5,400 again on FanDuel this season. So I want to grab him against a suspect Kings defense. Seems awfully cheap. And then a couple guards. Devontae Graham, 5,700 on FanDuel seems insane against Cleveland and their defensive issues. We mentioned Jeff Teague earlier. He's going to be starting point guard for the Celtics. But Graham at 5,700, that seemed like a ripe opportunity for me.
Porter Jr. is 60. Michael Porter Jr. is 6,500 on DraftKings. I'm with you, Ken, on FanDuel. That $5,400 price tag is hard for me to not jump on. He is absolutely in my primary lineup on FanDuel tonight. One team I'm looking at, you mentioned Kevin Porter's out, Kevin Love's out. Also out for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dante Exum, Dellavedova. That means they have like no guards. Darius Garland, Darius Garland, who's super cheap on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Colin Sexton, good price on both sites. Okoro, those guys are going to get so much run tonight. I'm not automatically plugging them into my lineups, but I think they all warrant consideration. Okoro on DraftKings in particular. DraftKings pricing tonight's really interesting, especially with the rookies. Okoro is, let's see, $3,400 on DraftKings tonight. There are numerous other rookies like Killian Hayes, who's 3,900. Other guys who we talked about earlier this episode, Mason Plumley is 3,700 on DraftKings. You could put a lineup of Luka, James Harden, and Giannis together tonight and actually have like legit other 30 guys who could hit 30 points in all the other spots, and they're all priced under 4,000 because there are so many good discounts. There are so many good value plays tonight. It's going to be hard to pinpoint which ones are the best targets, but there's even guys like Hassan Whiteside at 3,800. It's an absolutely insane field and pricing for the opening night for most of these teams.
Alex, you pay a little more attention than I do, but nice to see Okoro draining threes in the preseason.
Yeah, that's a big get for him because we already know he's a great defender. So if he can start hitting threes with consistency, he will be really good, and he might already be better than Chetty Osman. So one of the more fascinating contracts of the past 5 years, locking him up for a while. Couple other guys. I had Andre Drummond in my original lineup against Charlotte. Shannon already alluded to the amount of guys that were out. Charlotte doesn't really have interest in playing any centers. This could easily be a 25 rebound game for Drummond because Cleveland also can't play offense.
Cody Zeller still starting. Cody Zeller still starting in the NBA.
Yes. Oddly, I want to piggyback on your Drummond mention because obviously Larry Nance with Kevin Love out is an obvious play. I don't think Nance is necessarily discounted enough for me to automatically slot him in my lineups. Instead, I have been looking at Drummond. Drummond's, if you look at just guys who averaged like 45 or more fantasy points per game last year and their pricing for the first game of the season, he's the best value out of players who that upper tier, first tier or second tier of players. He's the best value out of those expensive players. And there's a good chance, given the injuries, given the matchup and everything else, I think Drummond's almost a lock to be a top 5 scorer for tonight. So, 50 points, 50 fantasy points. Here we come. $8,000 on both sides, 8,400 on FanDuel, 8,000 on DraftKings. He's one of the expensive players I like the most.
Yeah, and close to his price also, if you want to save a little bit of money, but I think also good value, is Deandre Ayton, who's 7,600 against Dallas. Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber are solid defenders, but they're not shut down Deandre Ayton type defenders. And this is a game that should kick up and down the court. Chris Paul, Deandre Ayton connection should be good. I also like John Collins with Clint Capella out. That's against Chicago, who I expect to be a god-awful defensive team still. You can put him and Christian Wood in your lineup, and you still got a lot of money to work with. You got anybody else on your list, Ken, or does that close
guys,
it out?
I just want to throw in the semi-weekly plug for RotoWire's starting lineups page. It's the most popular web page on rotowire.com. It's free. You do not need to be a subscriber to use tonight's starting lineups page. It's crucial information every year, but in this crazy year, with COVID bouncing players left and right, we've already got breaking news today. It's mandatory reading. So please come join us at rotowire.com and come for the starting lineups, stay for the fantastic analysis.
That might have been our best plug ever for a RotoWire site piece. Okay. I guess more than ever, pay attention to the injury news. This Rockets thing, pay attention to that. Throughout the day, the rest of it there shouldn't be too many other surprises other than that, I hope. But If we're done with DFS, then Ken, it's time for your old man rant.
Ugh. You know what chuffs my chimney? Me. I am an idiot. I'm in 6 fantasy football leagues that I really care about. Last weekend, I was in the semifinals for 3 of them with some sweet rosters. Great. In all 3, I'm sitting at my PC. News breaks that Zeke Elliott's not going to play. And I lickety-split pick up Tony Pollard. And I stick him in all 3 lineups. But I still got about 30 minutes before kickoff. Ugh. And slowly, on each team, I keep coming up with really stupid reasons not to play Pollard against the 49ers. And I slowly take him out of all 3 lineups before he blows up for 2 TDs and roughly 34 fantasy points. I hate myself. I haven't slept all week. I went 1-2 in those semifinal games last week. Oh, fantasy basketball, take me away!
You know if it's a lie or not, if Ken, is suggesting that he played in any semifinal games in a fantasy league. I don't believe that story.
Dead true. I'll send you screenshots. 3 of 6. I was psyched.
Oh, man. Okay, mispronounced names. We had an Oubre from Ken instead of Oubre. Pretty similar to Ombre, though, which maybe Oubre can consider.
You know what? I didn't even know that was wrong. I've been saying Oubre for years now.
And then we had the entire Wizards roster needs kind of a name check for sure.
Yeah. I know.
So thank you.
Go Troy Brown. Go Troy Brown.
Troy Brown's the man. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It's presented by Owner's Box and BetMGM. Ken, take us out of here.
Yeah, for our out quote, let's go to Championship Los Angeles, where legend Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, when he heard a few years ago, when he heard Jimmy Butler was cursing out teammates at practice, Kobe said, quote, "I think most of my teams would just call it a Monday," unquote. Attention passengers, this 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line. Hi fans, please like our video and subscribe to the RotoWire channel. Then please go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.